I have a green bar.
Green bars rule.
Yes.
Getting out the oldie character.
Cool. Reminds me.
All right. Does is everyone pretty caught up in front of you? You're caught up, good to go, right?
Mm-hmm.
Alright.
Burn. Filled me in.
Yeah.
All right then.
I did a very
Um,
cut and dry summary.
Hmm. It worked. I know what's going on.
Yeah.
Indigo's captured by vampires. Thraxis has his golden orb, and the vampires want it for some reason.
Yeah.
So that being the case, there's only one thing. There's one thing I want to start with, which was Inferno. Basically, they after Simmons kind of explained what he had learned, and everyone was kind of aware of where they are. Everyone kind of took a break for a few hours. Isaac meditated a bit. Talavac helped Ollie devise a plan like, if we were going to steal it, or if I was a vampire going to steal it, what would I do?
Okay.
And Lucas Lucas got approached. They all actually got approached by Magnus. Hang on, let me actually pull out my notes here real quick. Onegas, the green furry DB.
Okay.
And after he approached all of them, basically he approached all of them and filled out the paperwork that Xavier was dreading.
Dreading. That was stupid.
Right. Yes. Good point. And very good distinction there.
Yeah.
So after he would have approached them, he would have approached Xavier rather nervously with a stack of papers. And I don't know, what would Xavier have been doing if there was like a 2-hour break on the Corsair ship?
He'd probably be checking. Well, from my understanding, the last encounter with the vampires was quite intense, both physically and emotionally, especially probably for the Corsairs, considering they just lost a brother to the vampires, right?
Right.
So, Xavier's normally pretty slick, pretty social, pretty gregarious, but in light of this very clear problem, he would probably be going over his weapons, maybe surfing the intranet or whatever center uses, looking for more resources or more information, because he's still woefully ignorant about vampires. That sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. And there would certainly they would allow you access to a terminal. And in fact, they would give you like
I have a
your
hollow
own
computer.
Oh, well, okay.
I have a wrist. I have a wrist. I had to buy a new one, but I have a wrist-mounted hollow computer.
Oh, perfect. You could do it there in the room where they're meeting. They would also, kind of like they did with Isaac, they'd also offer you like a room with a bit more privacy if you preferred.
Sure.
Completely up to you. But at some point, Onegas would approach you and he would say, Xavier, I don't mean to intrude. I was wondering if you had a moment.
If it's about the paperwork, Xavier will say, as he doesn't even look up from his hollow computer, you can fill it out for me.
I wouldn't be able to without knowing the details of your life. I would.
I see. And why do you need to know the details of my life? And now Xavier's going to look up from his hollow computer and raise an eyebrow.
The big DB, you actually see him shrink a little bit. When
He's
you
not
look
angry.
at him.
This is like a smart assy response.
Oh no!
Right? Yeah.
I'm
not trying
understand.
to intimidate the man, but okay, fair enough. Yeah, fair
I
enough.
understand. He'll say, "Well, in the hopefully unneeded event that you take us up on the offer to be relocated to another time, the Corsairs need to be sure that you aren't of extreme importance to the history of this timeline. Imagine if you did something that was pivotal at some point in time and we took you away before that happened, we would be creating the one thing we were made to stop."
Xavier's gonna pause for a moment, mull it over in his head. Okay, so here's the deal, Xavier says. You ask me the questions you want to know. I'll answer honestly, and you fill out the paperwork.
He nods and looks a little relieved, and he says, "That I can certainly do." And he'll sit down and push his glasses up and begin filling out the paperwork. And he'll ask you the questions. And if you want, we can kind of go out of character and just kind of
Yeah,
cover.
we can just loosely talk about them if you want.
He would ask you what your full name was, and he would stress that the name that most people know you by, because a lot of people don't go by their birth name. History books probably wouldn't record some people's birth names, so the name that you're most well known by.
Most well known by is Philip Buckley. But if you're wondering what my true name is, it's Xavier Hanso Anderson.
I see. I'll put down Philip Buckley and then parentheses it. And then he writes for a moment, and then he'll ask if you have any, other than what's already visible when you're wearing clothing, distinguishing scars, birthmarks, features, anything like that that would be notable.
Xavier says no, he doesn't. But Xavier's also lying. He does have a scar.
Oh, nice.
Mm-hmm.
Onegas writes down that you have no discernible scars or birthmarks.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, he would ask you to basically describe important events in your life. And what we can do this way is basically, I'll ask you the same thing I asked them. Is there anything Xavier would keep out or change, or you know what I mean? Like, how truthful would he be? And is there anything specific he would avoid or change?
Sure. Xavier would be mostly truthful, and he'll do his best to be as vague as he can about his childhood. More specifically, what happened to him before he was 10 years old.
Okay.
He'll make vague references about losing his parents and a vague reference of having to be escorted off a planet, and he'll give the planet's name. He won't even say if that's his home planet or not. And he will mention that he was brought up by a foster mother who turned out to be a tutor and educator to him.
Okay.
And if he asks for her name, he'll give her the name that she's, pardon me?
Yeah, he would, and also if your parents are still around, if you know.
With the answer to that question about his parents, Xavier does not say a single word, but looks very grave. As for his tutor and his teachers, what he'll do is he knows his teacher's real name, but he'll tell them what the name she mostly goes by, which is Zuzana. So it's like Susanna, but with Z's.
Okay. Give me a second. Then after Xavier basically goes through, I assume what Xavier would think would be the highlights of his life,
Sure.
up until the present.
It's funny, the older he gets and the more clearly independent he gets, especially after about his 17th birthday, then the stories get longer and more embellished and more detailed.
Okay. So we'll say the process takes maybe half an hour, you think? The whole thing.
Actually, if he really wants to know major parts about his life, once he starts really talking, like I said, about the period after 17, Xavier can tell stories for a good solid hour.
Okay. then here's what'll happen. By the end, Onegas actually, when he's done, he kind of like starts massaging his wrist a little bit as he has been furiously writing much of this time. And it should be noted too. This isn't a data pad. This isn't typing. He is handwriting documents.
Interesting.
So he'll at the end he'll stack it up and he'll put the papers in a neat stack and he'll say, "I was worried you would be upset, but this turned out to be a rather pleasant experience. I suppose I misjudged you.
Xavier says, I just prioritize things. And bureaucracy is typically a very low priority. But considering we have some downtime, and the very fact that it is your friend who was lost to the vampires, and you find this important enough to do still, well, what else was I going to do with my time, right?
Onigus nods and he says, yes, I am very worried about Indigo.
You
I have
should be.
learned that at least one person does have to worry about the bureaucracy or everything falls apart.
Sure. And that would be a real tragedy, I suppose, Xavier says with a bit of a smirk and a glint in his eye, showing that he's not really crazy about governments and laws unless he can use them to his own advantage.
Onigus nods, not catching the sarcasm.
Xavier will give a bit of a raise his hand, and he says, I'm going to say this amongst my friends, but I'm going to say it to you, and I'd like you to let the rest of the Corsairs know. If one of those vampire things drags me away, just shoot me in the head, because I don't want to know what they do to the living. Okay?
Onigus is quiet for a while and he says, I will do it myself if I have to.
Mm-hmm. Just make sure you let everyone else know.
He nods. And then he leaves with the paperwork.
Yay.
On that morbid note,
Mm-hmm. I'm serious. Xavier has a lot to think about, and although he did kill some when I was playing the session before last, my little gun is a lucky vampire slayer. Doesn't mean that those things aren't fucking vicious.
So, what we'll say is about a good 3 or 4 hours have passed. Lucas would get a call back on the ship to that the parties are ready to reconvene if Lucas would like to come back.
Could you remind me, are weapons permitted now for MDC, or is this?
Yeah. No, weapons are certainly permitted.
All right.
I would also point out that because Lucas, while you were waiting on the ship and Hart was chasing around Quicksilver and all of that, excuse me, sorry. Sarah was there, but she was actually asleep in one of the guest room. The what's it called? What do you guys call it? The smuggler
The
lounge.
Smuggler's
Yeah,
Lounge.
the Smuggler's Lounge.
Yeah, the smuggler's lounge.
I love that name.
So yes, MDC armor and weapons are allowed pretty much in center. Basically, the rule of thumb is it's allowed everywhere that there's not a checkpoint telling you not to bring it.
Okay.
All right.
Then
So
Lucas will bring his wizard staff.
Oh, the one with rockets?
Yes, the wizard staff.
Right. When Lucas comes back to the Corsair ship, you'll see him carrying. I think you should probably describe it.
Lucas walks in with a big smile on his face and a fairly large stick that seems to have a bit of cords around it, big thick cords around this sort of staff-like thing that kind of sticks up into a trident of rockets.
So we all see this, I take it?
Oh, it's hard to miss.
Oh,
Wait, what? I tuned out for a moment. I just heard the word rockets.
Lucas is when he comes back to the ship, he's carrying a staff that looks very much like a walking stick type of thing, with cords and cables on it, and at the top of it is like a trio of rockets.
Like mini missile size?
Yeah.
Bigger?
Yes, mini missile size actually, very similar to mini missiles.
Huh.
Xavier will once again raise his eyes from his hollow computer screen and say, Lucas, why do you have missiles attached to your staff? Why do you have unstable ordnance in the smuggler's lounge?
What are you talking about unstable? As he takes it and then starts tapping it against the wall. Very
Please.
stable.
Xavier gets up with a start for a moment, and he'll say, "Now, can you answer my question? Now that we've cleared up the stability of the ordnance."
Oh, sorry. Your question was, why did I bring...
Why do you have it? Why? Why? Xavier will ask. pointing to the
As he
staff.
thumps it hard on the floor, he goes, "Why, good sir, this is my wizard staff."
You'll see Oniga sitting in the background, since you're in the Corsair ship and you're tapping this against the walls with a rocket stick. Every time you do it, his hand kind of comes out towards it and then drawn back like he really wants to say, but he kind of doesn't. But every time you do it, you see him like,
To a wizard staff to fight vampires? Xavier asks hopefully.
As he looks at it, you think rockets would work well against vampires?
I have no idea. As he looks over to Isaac.
Is there some kind of silver component or wood? Or do they shoot holy water?
Or all of the above.
Or all
No,
of the
it's mostly
above?
just the exploding kind of rockets.
Isaac will slowly shake his head.
Xavier will sigh and go back to his holographic screen.
It still looks pretty cool, though. You could use it
I
on a
look
regular
cool.
schmuck.
Xavier says, but that doesn't mean I'm the best thing to fight fucking vampires.
Good point.
Yeah.
and as you guys are talking, the rest of the Corsairs are kind of filing into the room. Cyber 6 takes a seat next to Xavier and kicks his feet up on the table and leans back in the chair, and he says, "Well, I took a look over what Ollie and Talavac did. I'm I don't have their same particular set of skills, but from the complexities of the plan, it looks like these vampires are going to have quite a time on their hands if they want this orb."
Well, why should we give them any sort of chance? Xavier asks. Has Thraxis been made aware of the potential security risk?
Simmons kind of clears his throat. He says, "I tried to speak with him, and our discussion was very brief and not pleasant. He was very, what's the word I'm looking for?
Rude?
Dismissive of me."
Well, that's probably because he doesn't know you from, Agthak. We have a business relationship and, obviously a relationship in regards to the hunt as well. He's more likely to bend his ear towards us, and if not, at least we can say we gave it a shot, right? So that's step one, making sure the vampires don't steal the orb, and if we give the most powerful man on center a heads up, that skews it more in against the vampires. Are we agreed on that?
Yeah.
You see Simon and Magnolia kind of share a glance, but Cyber 6 next to you goes, "Sounds like a logical step to me."
Yeah, well, sometimes I'm logical. I'm not just a pretty face. Which brings me to the next part. The whole reason we got all rolled up together, we're working together, not to say I don't dislike it completely, but you mentioned before about a hiccup in time and space, an instance in which things need to be resolved, correct?
Yes, that it is approaching soon.
Okay. What do you mean by that?
Cyber 6 will actually take off his sombrero and kind of throw it around his feet on the table and sit up in the chair. And he'll say, "Well, as succinctly as I can put it,
Please.
the vampires, at least we're almost sure now it's the vampires, are going to do something soon, within the next few days, weeks, at the latest months, that is going to affect this world, the galaxies around us, so vastly that time won't be able to correct itself.
Okay.
Imagine if you shot someone, the average person.
Thraxis? Oh, the average person.
The average person.
Televac.
Mhm.
And Cyber 6 will nod.
I would never
Time-
shoot Televac, but we're just using this as an example. And Xavier gives Televac a winning smile. Ding!
I
Cyber
give
6
one back too.
Cyber 6 will nod. He'll say, obviously, everything that Talavac would have done will not take place, but time is
Yes.
resilient and it can correct for such a small thing.
Blip.
But if you were to use your example, kill Thraxis, who's a very powerful and influential person, whose very word and dealings can crash or change the direction of the market of the entire three galaxies, taking someone like that out when we don't know what he has planned in the future could cause a distortion so big that time can't correct for it, and it has to split off a new timeline.
Xavier kind of pauses and he tilts his head and says, but what if I was meant to kill Thraxis? What if he wasn't meant to live a long life and die comfortably in his bed? How can you tell whether someone's murder or abrupt ending of their life was meant to be or not meant to be? How can you tell something's interference? Is all violence interference?
Cyber 6 shakes his head and he says, because we're in the unique position of being from the future. And the Corsairs keep very good records.
I see. Well, bully for you, Xavier says. He looks down at that. Suffice to say, I had the same inclination that the vampires were this blip. After all, Isaac, you would know best than anyone else, considering they were encountered around your hometown. These are the exact same vampires that we met when we were acquiring certain dust.
Stands to reason.
Is that an old-timey human way of saying yes? Wait, why am I saying human? Old-timey earthling way of saying yes?
The pharaohs looked very familiar, along with some of the more stable vampires, but I haven't seen the master yet, so I can't tell you for certain. But they were wearing interesting clothes for here.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Cyber 6 says, didn't you have friends that you brought back here?
Yes. The ones that you dealt with. The ones that you settled.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We did. We set them up here. We gave them enough credits, and then we just kind of went our own way.
You actually set them up here.
Well, where else were we going to set them up?
I thought you would set them up somewhere in the friggin' future.
Cyber 6 blinks, and he says, perhaps we gave the wrong impression. That deal we've offered you is not the kind of deal we offer. Well, I don't think we, as a group, have ever offered that before. It's not common.
Okay.
Hold up a second, Xavier says as he brings up a hand. How about this? We get rid of the rest of the vampires. That prevents them from doing anything. And then your friends from your town, we can bring back to the town because those were the vampires that were threatening them, right? They'll be safe.
Maybe.
And then everything is to balanced. Vampires never came over here. Your friends never came over here. It'll be everything like the way it was, except there's a bunch of dead fucking vampires.
Cyber 6 would ask Isaac, and Isaac, I'll just kind of do this out of character.
Yeah, do it.
Yeah, he would ask Isaac if the master came here somehow and wasn't there, would the vampires still be a threat there? Like, can they survive without the master? And Isaac would know enough to know that not very long and not very well if the master was so far away.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they would be incredibly disorganized and not the same type of threat they were.
Yeah, not enough of a threat to build some kind of way to cross a running river.
Right.
Yeah.
Or be motivated to go across it. Yeah.
Xavier's going to clear his throat and he says, listen, it's really clear what we got to do, all right? We can't reason with these vampires. We can't charm them. We can't throw them in prison. And sure, they might be going after this orb, and this very thing might be the cause of this great disturbance in time, thanks to our new future friends. Regardless, if we simply just stop them from stealing it, that's a temporary solution. They'll be still alive and they're still going to try. Since we can't convince them to fuck off, they will have to die. Now, we're all very aware that our last attempt was a significant failure. So, we're dealing with a force that is stronger than us that we cannot fight head on, which means we should do one of two things, preferably both. One, don't fight them head on, but instead be a little bit more clever and strategic and cautious with them. For example, after we give Thraxis a heads up, maybe we will attack their lair while they're trying to steal the orb. Obviously, they're splitting themselves up already. And in fact, we might be able to even save Indigo doing that. But secondly, even with Indigo, we weren't able to handle them. So I think Center is a really big place. And I think Isaac isn't the only person in this entire planet that has dealt with vampires and hates vampires. I say we recruit some friends. I say we let Center Security know, too.
Cyber 6 muses and then says, "You thinking mercenaries?"
Maybe, but Xavier's going to pause for a moment, so Televac can say something.
Sorry. I forgot.
That's what the plus signs are for.
Yeah, you're good.
I forgot. Okay. I kind of step in. I'm like, okay, if we were dealing with a regular mercenary group, then the authorities would be the one to go to. But now that I think about it, these are vampires. Maybe we could recruit from the warlock market.
Cyber 6 goes, "Simmons, you probably know more about this than I would." Simmons, who has been quiet a lot of this time, says, "Well, from what I understand in Center, it doesn't work the same way most planets do. The security here, as you call it, is a very loose organization run by the Prometheans, and they only concern themselves with threats to the entire station, which means that we would have to convince them that not just that there's monsters down there kidnapping a few people, but that these monsters are a threat to Center."
Well, sure.
And he nods.
Could possibly be done.
And he says, "Other than that, most security is handled by local mercenaries. The security you would find on one level in one section is going to be a completely different organization than what you would find on another. You could..." Oh, go ahead.
No. I'll let him finish.
He'd say, "So pretty much, if we're looking to recruit anyone, obviously, if we can convince the Prometheans to help, that's fantastic. Other than that, well, you're pretty much in the hotbed for mercenary activity, since 90% of all security on Center is run by mercenary gangs."
Great. And we do have money, but a hired gun can be found anywhere. I'm thinking we get a little bit more specific. Goodness knows every bar of every space station, of every planet, of every colony I've ever been, there's always been a tale of shining knights and great heroes fighting evil with holy weapons. Surely there's got to be a couple of them around here. And people who have a vested interest in this shit are a lot more dependable than guys you pay to point their guns in a certain situation. But hey, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's either or. I say we do both. I say let's hire us a bunch of mercs and try to find some Crusader types. And warn the security and warn Thraxis. I mean, we need as much as we can to kill these fuckers.
Cover our bases, yep.
So Cyber 6 would put an elbows on the table and he says, "I like all of this, with one thing I'd like to bring up.
Caveat? Sure.
If Indigo's still alive, I'm not sure how much I would trust hired guns to do the actual rescue. They might decide she is just one of them. So I'm all for bringing war to the vampires. But I, for one, am at least going to be there personally to save her, and I'd rather the mercenary groups not be a part of that.
So you want to be a part of the spearhead going into the lair to make sure to rescue your friend?
He nods. She would do the same for me.
Exactly, and I would hope my friends would do the same thing for me, and I do the same thing for my friends, even though I'm not really your typical fighter type. Yeah, I don't see any problems with that. As long as we have the appropriate backup, we hit them by surprise, and we have the right people fighting on our side, there's no reason why you shouldn't try to get your friend out.
Mm-hmm.
Simmons will nod and he'll say, that idea you had earlier, trying to hit them while they're busy.
Yeah.
If I was a master vampire, or a master of any organization really, I wouldn't want to have my hands too close to the danger. Which means that I'd be back safe in my little hole while the whole operation's going down.
Mm-hmm.
Less protected, more vulnerable.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Kind of like a general behind enemy lines. If you can get behind enemy lines, you can get right to the general.
And if the enemy lines themselves are focused on, say, stealing a certain orb.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
And with this enemy, if you cut the head off the snake, the rest will die. Might take a minute.
Really? Xavier asks. I had no idea. Vampires work that way.
Like I said before, they can't survive without the master for very long.
I see. And they probably won't be as organized either. Okay. Well, if we're going to do this, do we have a timeline as to when we think the vampires are going to try to steal this orb?
Well, according to the plans that Talavac and Ollie laid out, the most vulnerable times, and of course, David, correct me if you're thinking something different, but I think I got the gist of this. The two best times to hit it would either be when it's being transported to Thraxis or during the party reception that very night. So it would be one of those two times during the day.
So how long do we have?
Well, the orb is scheduled to let's say it's 6 p.m. right now. The orb is scheduled to arrive 4 p.m. tomorrow.
So I suggest, since we have a lot to do, we split up into small groups to meet these 4 objectives: recruiting mercenaries, finding crusaders, warning the Prometheans, and warning Thraxis. Are we agreed?
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah.
Okay.
I agree.
Let's just also get more into specifics here. Xavier comes up as he seems a lot more confident now and less aimless like he was when he was searching through the intranet, the center, communications network. And he says, let's figure out what task would be best by each people. Obviously, the Corsairs have no flack with Thraxis, so one of our core group, 1 or 2 of us, are going to have to be the ones who talk to Thraxis. Frankly, we all know that my tongue can get us into and get us out of trouble pretty damn well. I can be pretty convincing sometimes. So, if it's okay by you, I volunteer talking to Thraxis. I can go alone. I'd feel safe enough to do so. Is everyone okay with that idea?
Yes, but I think that you shouldn't go alone. I should go with you.
Okay.
Okay.
That works.
So me and Talavac, since you would know about his security, sure, of course that makes sense, Talavac. You can back up the technical details of my sweet words. Perfect idea.
Mm-hmm.
So that's me and Talavac. So we have 3 other objectives: warning Prometheans, recruiting mercs, finding crusader types. What do we think?
All right, let's put it in motion.
Well, no, we need to figure out, which Corsairs and which group members are going to be doing the remaining 3 goals,
Oh, yeah, that. Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, and as a GM, I'm just letting you guys know right now, the Corsairs will do pretty much whatever you guys choose not to do.
So really, out of character, it's what Isaac and Lucas want to do.
Right.
Or what they're best at.
What does Lucas want to do?
I have a crazy idea.
Mm-hmm.
Now this Xavier would put... Okay, Xavier will say this in character. He'll say, remember how I said that pretty much every station you go to, there's someone singing a song or telling a story or reciting some sort of poem about some great heroes? I bet you those Crusader, holier-than-thou types love that type of shit. And Lucas is one hell of an entertainer. I bet you he could get the word out pretty quick.
Yeah.
Lucas starts musing. Yes. The new operatic song I just made. I think I can do that. I think I can put in the lyrics. And you guys thought it was pointless.
I didn't even know what you're talking about. I'm assuming you were working on a song last session?
These guys were very upset that I was working on a song. I don't really know. They seem to be party poopers. I don't know what's going on there.
See, but now look what we did. Look what we did. This is great.
The odd thing is, Lucas is pointing to the Corsairs, and they all look really confused.
So, Burn.
Mm-hmm.
What would be fun? Do you think would be fun for Isaac to do, or would he be good at?
You know, trying to find the Crusaders seems really interesting, but I'm not sure if I have any skills to help that. The Prometheans might be interesting because they are the ones that created the orb that he uses for telemechanics. But again, not sure if I can really come up with something to try and warn them. What was the third thing again?
The third thing was
mercenaries.
Recruiting mercs. Honestly, if I can be frank and give you a bit of positivity here, Burn.
Yeah.
If that's okay, I think you'd be fine for at least a couple tasks. One, if you find hiring Crusaders to be interesting, here's the thing. Say I'm a Cyber Knight or a Holy Warrior, right? I see Crazy Lucas sing these songs. He got my attention, but I might not think he's serious. If you went along with him, you're a dependable soldier-type fighter gunslinger. I would know you'd be serious. Like, he would lure them. You would say them, no, like, seriously, they're fucking vampires, and I know a bunch about them, right?
Yeah.
So that's a big thing, right? So I think that would be a huge asset rather than just have Lucas go on his own. So that's a way of you doing something interesting, and I think it would be well within your skill set, right?
Yeah.
So
that sounds good.
So that's one thing for sure. I mean, the other thing for mercenaries, I mean, for example, regular mercs, for lack of a better word, you're the best fighter out of the group, right? Which means you know what to look for, all right? Yeah. So you know whether you're going to get some raw recruit who barely knows how to fire his weapon versus a good, a dependable veteran, right? So that would be helpful. As for the orb and anyone with a brain and a mouth can talk to them and give them a very simple warning, right? Whether they take it or not, sure. I mean, the more convincing, the better. Yeah. Right? But, you got a brain, you got a mouth, right? So you can do anything.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I like the idea of the Crusaders, though, because essentially...
I like it too, when I was mentioning it, that kind of made me feel happy.
Essentially, Lucas would be the lure, and I would be the scout sealing the deal.
Yeah.
Hey, you seem like you're interested in this. Why don't I buy you a beer and we can talk? Right. That kind of thing.
Great. And the Corsairs, they can split it up amongst themselves, unless we can think there's certain Corsairs that are better than that. Like, honestly, I think the big green fellow... I forgot his name.
Onegas.
I think Onegas and Cyber 6 are the most eloquent of the two, of the Corsairs, the remaining ones. So I think maybe they should be the ones to talk to the Prometheans. And the rest, hire the mercs.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds good.
I will point out that during the deliberations, Simmons would say... I think I'd like to come with you to speak to Thraxis again. As I already spoke to him once, it might make things go quicker, and I'm not a fan of failing at things.
You know, he kind of has a point, because it would be yet another familiar face, but now he's backed up with us. So.
But he also might be a liability. They might see him right at the gates and just be like, oh, fucking you again? Now with these guys? Now go fuck yourself, right? But...
that's a point, too.
I kind of admire his stubbornness. It reminds me of, well, me. Okay, sure, what the hell.
Well, I think Thraxis really can't help but talk to you, Xavier. I mean, he really enjoys it.
A bit too much sometimes.
Only Thraxis enjoys talking?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Only when it plays to his benefit, which is why we're going to have to spin this to help him.
Mhm.
I already have a good idea of what to say.
Well,
Okay.
there you go.
What would be really interesting is if Talavak lends in his expertise with the technology and all that and
Sure.
specifies how he would do it.
Sure. Yeah, that's when Talavac said I should come along. I kind of looped that into the technical know-how, right?
Mhm.
I give the sweet words. He shows the security exploit, and Onegas, right?
Yes.
Simmons.
Yeah,
Simmons.
and Onegas is here to say like,
Simmons,
see,
yeah.
sorry, Simmons, and Simmons is the one who says, see, I fucking told you. We got a trifecta. We got a convincing trifecta. So okay, all right.
So that means that Magnolia and Ollie will hire or what they're actually going to do is they're going to scope out mercenaries, find possible hires, and they said they'll bring back the best candidates.
Candidates and
to go over.
costs.
Mhm.
Okay, all right.
And then Cyber 6 and Onegas will attempt to persuade the Prometheans.
Yeah.
Sweet, we got ourselves a fucking plan, guys.
Sure.
We do.
That sounds great.
All right.
I would also bring it up with I can't remember her name. What elf lady. I would also like to know specifically what weapons they use, these mercenaries.
Oh, Magnolia. Okay.
Yeah, Magnolia. What weapons they use and if they are familiar with techniques for defeating vampires specifically.
Okay. She'll point out that vampires, from everything they've researched so far, are rare in this sector of space.
Mhm.
But that doesn't mean that there aren't monsters of some kind. So she'll see what she can do.
Well, you don't have to specify vampires, actually. You could go with, like, werewolves. Things like that.
Or supernatural threats.
Supernatural threats, yeah. Things that are defeated with silver.
She points at you and goes, see, now that people can understand.
Yes.
Out of character too, Squee. There's one other detail that I like to know from Magnolia, right? I got the name right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What are her measurements? Damn it! I said I wouldn't be a sex pervert in these
36,
games anymore.
34, 38.
Actually, she is. I don't know exact measurements, but she is. She has
a high physical beauty score.
Yes. She's probably about a 19 or 20. She
What a bitch!
has all
She's
the
higher than
curves
me.
in all the right places.
Nice.
She has when she's not wearing armor, she shows a little bit of midriff and has one of those where you can see the very slim lines of a beginning of a six-pack, but not overly developed. That kind of thing. So very physically fit, very athletic, but still has ample curves in all the right places.
Maybe not all the Corsairs are bad. All right. And that's it for my weird comments.
Speaking of,
I find it
speaking of
entertaining.
all the Corsairs.
Oh, good. I'm glad you find it entertaining, at least.
Cyber 6 says, as much as I would love to get started now, and some of it we might be able to do, it is time for many places to shut down. Perhaps we should start first thing in the morning.
We can talk to Thraxis now.
You said it was around 6 o'clock in the evening, though, right?
Correct. Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I'm with Talavac. Maybe the rest of the main recruiting and whatnot might be. But I think we should let Thraxis know as soon as possible. That way he can have more time to plan.
Cyber will nod and he'll say, in that case, we might as well all just head out.
Start.
Yeah.
When we are on a clock, so every hour that we can spend on this, the better, right? The more Lucas is singing his song, the more ears are going to hear it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
The more time you are able to, go through possible mercenary recruits, the bigger pool we get to draw from.
It's true. And most bars will not close for a while.
Yeah.
With that, Simmons, crap. I'm forgetting what NPCs I'm using. Who did I say said that?
Would say the what part?
The starting out the next morning.
Cyber 6.
Cyber 6.
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry. No, I'm sorry. Let me back up a little bit. Onegus, because Onegus is the one that would say things like that. I'm sorry.
It's
Onegus was the one
Juggling
saying that.
NPCs can be hard.
Yes, yes, it can be. Cyber 6 is the one that's like, he'd be running down to level 10 right now if he could. So Onegus would not consent, and everyone would start going their merry ways. So here's what we're going to do. We'll split things up a bit. We're kind of in two groups now.
Yep.
Which group would like to go first?
Should we roll for that?
No, we can just
Fine if
decide.
We're undecided, but you know what? I'm feeling it right now. So
Okay, yeah, you
Go
go.
on, go
Let's
for
do
it.
it.
Perfect.
Okay.
I'm gonna
Do
grab
it.
a drink of water in the bathroom in the meantime. So yeah, go nuts.
All right, so Lucas and Isaac, where are you headed? Oh, or at least give me the general idea, and I can guide you from there.
So it's the evening, right? It's about 6 p.m.?
About 6 p.m., yeah.
Okay. How does this sound for you? Going
Go
to
on.
the carnival district. Let's see,
Go
Wonderworld. And do you want to set up in an actual bar, or do you want to just do it in the open air? Because it is 6 p.m.
it depends on who you want, but I like it in the open air.
Okay, I'm
think
also
you get
going to
more
point out,
creative
you
people.
guys will know that since Wonderland is a family place, there are no bars. There are restaurants, but there are no bars in it. Like, that'd be like having a bar in Six Flags.
Actually, that's probably a bad place to go at least in the evening. Maybe the Warlock Market, but it's closing up.
I can let you guys know too, because it has been a while. A heads up. So where most of the bars that you're thinking of would actually you're very close to them. It's in level 2B.
The spaceport.
Because it's the spaceport. The spaceport in and of itself is like a city. And not only is it a spaceport, but it is also a collection of inns, taverns, and bars where all the ship crews and people that are there temporarily go. Plus, it's also where all the warehouses for goods are. So there's lots of mercenaries securing this merchant's good or that merchant's good or whatnot. So I'd say the majority of the bars in Center are in the spaceport area. There's also a lot in the open market, but those are more like restaurant / bars, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm. Well, where do you want to go, Piph? I'll just let you pick. I guess.
I think a nice open area with a lot of adventurous types usually would go. Let's see. If I was adventure, where would I go? Guns. Where are the guns?
Well, most of the guns are in level 4A, the free trade zone. You can also find lots of weapons in level 4B, the warlock market. So, and those are two very different. Warlock market, you've been there before.
Yeah, that's more like
Zone
magic.
Free trade zone is mostly controlled by the Naruni. Lots of shops with military goods. It also has the more adult entertainment, and when I mean adult, I don't mean there is that too, but like the simulated the robot wars were there. The simulated battles and things like that are in that area.
I see.
I think they both kind of have their
Their uniqueness.
Yeah, like one side's a very serious and uses guns, and the other side is very adventurous and sees what happens. So, I like that side a lot more.
The Warlock
now
Market?
that I say it out loud, let's go to Warlock Market.
Sure.
All right, give me a second while I consider what kind of audience we're dealing with here.
Sure. I mean, it's not easy to pull, an entire scene out of your butt. Take your time.
Okay. I have. Well, I'm not going to make much an idea of what's going to happen, but I have an idea of the environment we're talking about here. So, Lucas and Isaac, you guys grab a taxi down towards the Warlock Market. It takes about an hour to get there, so it's around 7 p.m. When you're getting there. And that's because traffic was relatively light, and I do mean relatively. So you get down to the Warlock Market. I don't know if Isaac's ever been to the Warlock Market.
Yes, I have.
I don't.
I have.
Okay.
That's where I
So-
got a lot of the flares and things like that. In fact,
Okay,
that
right,
was
right,
where
right.
I got a lot of the Techno Wizard devices that I got recently.
Right, I'd forgotten. So you get to the streets, and the streets are as crowded as ever with a plethora of characters and wizards and people and creatures that you've never seen before, wandering the streets, hawking their wares. You hear loud shouting, most of it more in a friendly manner than anything else. Yeah, the streets are rather wide in this area because it has to make room for taxis going back and forth, as well as large beasts of burden, like the one you see in the picture there. Which, speaking of, let me go ahead and move you guys over here. And you said you wanted to look for a wide open space, right?
Yeah.
Well, there are every mile or so down the main road where you are. There is like a circular intersection. Do you guys? I don't know if you have these where you live. Do you ever have those circular intersections where when you get to the intersection, you basically drive clockwise around a
Yeah,
circle?
A
that's
roundabout.
a traffic circle. Yeah,
Yeah, a
or
roundabout.
roundabouts. Yeah,
Yeah, roundabout. Okay, they have these large roundabouts
I
that
need
look
them.
more like
Yeah.
gathering areas. They're very fancy. The roundabout itself has always has a very pretty fountain that sprays different colors of some sort of liquid. And each roundabout has like a different kind of aesthetic feel to it, but they all have the same basic principle of lots of people, big open space, large fountain in the center, and lots of crowds. So you could choose any one of those.
There, while I choose the well, the fountain, excuse me. That is generally what I'm hoping to do. If that is okay with you, I've sent you a.
Oh boy, this is
Okay.
gonna be good. It's
Okay.
never a dull moment when Lucas does things.
Give me the link, Squee.
I don't think I want to.
Wait. Well, save it for the actual performance. What he does, you know what I mean?
Okay.
There's some anticipation.
Okay.
I'm sure we'll figure it out soon enough, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
There you go.
All right. So you guys
This
arrive.
is gonna be another goddamn Blagorth fucking costume.
You guys arrive at the court, the roundabout. I didn't know what this was called. I have several of them here, but they're so small, no one ever talks about them or anything. So anyway,
Yeah, because you go roundabout.
it makes sense. So you arrive at the roundabout. This one, the fountain is it is pure white marble. It looks like marble, and the liquid shooting from it is like a sky blue. So it's very pretty white with a very light blue. It's the interesting thing about this, Lucas. You can instantly tell that there's something magical about it because no matter how loud the crowd is, no matter how loud the shouting, you can still hear the gentle sounds of the fountain as if it were quiet.
Oh.
So you arrive there, and you see in the roundabout itself is a throng of all kinds of people. You can see people dressed in wizard robes. You can see DBs of every kind. You see one guy of particular note. He's a very robust character, shall we say, with a partly balding head and a goatee, and he's very notable because he is floating about 5 feet in the air and eating what looked like maybe some sort of grape type fruit from a golden chalice that floats next to him. And he seems to just be kind of watching everyone below him with a very haughty expression. And a plethora of other types of colorful crowds. As diverse as, actually I can say this, as diverse as Isaac has probably ever seen of people and DBs.
Cool.
See, Lucas points up to the floating man. That's the kind of people that we're looking for.
Yes.
I'm very glad you agree. We're on the same page, you and my. This is why we need to team up more often.
Yes. As he looks at the crowd.
All right, so what would Lucas like to do?
So he needs some. He's basically going to try to sing a song, a very kind of motivational kind of piece. He might use his guitar as a background instrumental, but he's definitely going to be more of a lively, moving around sort of thing. So he is going to see who would want to go adventuring in his own Lucas kind of way.
Got it. So you said you're going to do an operatic song. Are you going to use well, do you have any other instruments besides flutes? Because I know it's hard to sing.
It's
flute.
guitar.
Guitar. Yes, you do have a guitar.
I have a very nice
Special.
guitar that can actually do somewhat of a lighting thing.
Oh, that's what the guitar does? That's what the red button does?
No,
It's not the brown note one, right?
It is one thing that the guitar does, but certainly not what the red button does.
Oh God. Please don't do the brown note.
Okay.
Okay. Done.
Okay, if you
Noted.
would roll me a performance check.
All right.
You can
So
do
I have-
guitar or singing, whichever you feel is
I-
going to be the main emphasis.
I have guitar, song, and dance. What would so you gave me an option of those two? Sing, probably.
Okay, yeah. Basically, what I'm going to go with, because all three of them have an effect on it, so I'm just going to go with, two of them are going to be accompanying a main one. So
Right.
go with the main one.
Okay. Yes, sing.
Okay.
So he's going to have a very low doom 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 kind of a building kind of beat on his guitar.
Okay.
And then he's going to very much start out kind of low, talking about the fowls of the night. And he's going to start building his song up, and let's see how that goes. Fucking terribly, apparently.
All right. Okay.
I don't succeed by 9.
Right. So this isn't horrible because you're in an interesting place where this isn't like a if you fail once you never you're done kind of thing. What happens is, in this particular courtyard, this roundabout, you go through the song and your song builds up and you start hitting your crescendo and no one's really paying attention. A few onlookers have stopped. One person throws some sort of golden coin at your feet. But for the most part, people turn their heads towards you, but just keep on doing whatever they're doing.
Lame.
Lucas is currently leaping around, going to other people, grabbing onto their shoulders, doing that wide arm swing, and then jumping to the next person. He's really into it while no one else is.
And then you have
And,
Isaac just standing back near the fountain watching.
After I'd say about 5 minutes or so of people politely shrugging this colorful character off, the robust man in the sky actually floats down a little bit, and he kind of claps his thick hands together, and he says, "That was entertaining, though you're in the wrong place, my friend."
Move
Well,
along
they're saying
now.
What? Sorry, what?
He says the street performers typically like to perform 2 intersections down. Can't miss it.
Oh. So you might actually help me because I don't really know. These guys seem kind of like downers. I'm actually looking for maybe some more adventuring types. I'm trying to really grab at their heartstrings and really show the dangers that are actually real. Very actually real. I should probably note that they're real. That's probably the thing that I missed. Thank you for this, Chad.
Oh, you wanted. I was an adventurer myself back in the day. I got wounded, don't you know, ended my career. But, well, what you are looking for, if you're looking to spread tales of other adventurers like yourself, you'll want to go to the Prancing Pony.
Is that like a bar? Is that like a street name? Give me point in the direction. I'll definitely find it.
He points down the street and he says, "You can't miss it."
Sounds good.
And then he actually floats down to Lucas, and takes one of the grape-like fruits from his chalice and just kind of holds it out to Lucas. And he says, "I, at least, was entertained."
So how is he holding it out? Like that he's going to drop it?
No, like he's holding out with two fingers, like he's literally holding it in front of Lucas's mouth, like "Take this, eat it," kind of thing. Like, okay, the way you feel, it's almost like the zookeeper giving a treat to the monkey.
Yes. Okay. Lucas will most likely not use his hands and just his mouth.
And then the man will float back up to his vigil.
What a nice guy.
Talavac, you have no idea how hard it was not to do that.
I'm glad I can.
It was a struggle. All right.
Yeah.
All right. So not too successful there. Did you guys want to go follow his advice, or?
Sure.
Yeah, these guys are freaking bored.
Yeah.
All right. So you guys had that direction. Do you mind if I skip over to the other group for a moment, and we'll just kind of hop
Yes,
back and forth? Here?
Sure.
Okay. So you guys head that direction. Talavac, Xavier, and Simmons take a taxi up to the manors. And as before, and actually, you know this already because you've been to the manors a few times. You hit a certain checkpoint where they are screening people. Now, excuse me, because the ban on mega damage weapons has been lifted, you are allowed to enter the manors with any sort of weapons or equipment you would like, assuming that they judge you worthy of going through, if that makes sense. If they feel like you have business there, they're not going to hassle you too much over your weapons. They will hassle you over extensive like body armor and armaments, and the reason being it is unsightly and it would disturb the guests of the manor.
Well, maybe there's another way we can get into this place without walking in through the dining room.
Well, it's the section to the whole level itself. So just so you know, it's not like one building. We're talking about the gateways to the manors, the highest level of the center.
So toning it down would be a good idea.
Wait, didn't we have passes at one point to talk with Thraxis when we had to deal with the hunt?
And it's us.
Yeah, it was a token that designated that you were part of the hunt. Yes, It had a pause symbol on it.
We probably don't have that anymore.
I could say that would be up to you guys whether you'd keep it or not.
Oh, Xavier would definitely keep it. He would keep any resource that would help him. I bet you that would get their attention. Yeah.
Okay, sure. So you want to show that to the guards at the manor?
Sure. Yes.
Okay. The guard at the manor would take a look at that, and first, very important question.
Mm-hmm. We're not in ninja outfits.
Okay.
Well,
I was going to ask, are you in any sort of body armor? You can take again, like I said, you can take any weapons you choose, because weapons are typically not very gaudy. But no body armor. Got it. I assume Xavier's wearing his force field, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Talavac, what about you, sir?
Well, given that this is Thraxis here, we never know what to expect. But at the same time, the place has a stigma against too much armor. So I'm just gonna pre-hand. I'm just gonna wear my SDC stealth suit that I bought, and I might bring, if I can get away with bringing a pistol, I can. But if not, I'll just use my hands if I have
No,
to.
you can absolutely bring pistols, swords, or whatever. Okay, so the idea that I'm trying to get across is that no one minds if you're carrying like a rifle strapped to your back or a pistol on your hip or even a sword. That's fine. It's if you're walking around in full body armor, clinking and clanking. That's just kind of like, imagine that going through the suburbs. People would they think it's unsightly.
Oh, okay. All right. I'm just trying to get a mental image here of what's going on. Okay. Well, I'd have my SDC pistol, and I'd have a Rapture right on my back, and with the lighter armor, and that's it.
Okay. Simmons, similarly to Xavier, he's not wearing any body armor, but you can very clearly see a bandolier type force field around him. It's Xavier. It's very easy to tell it's the same thing, but it's like it's a different brand. It's a brand you haven't seen before, but you can tell what the device is.
Okay.
And he has on him as well a collection of odds and ends. It's a little interesting, actually. He's got, like, for example, he's got like a coiled rope on his back. He's got little pockets all around that have like what look like little metal things. Hard to kind of tell exactly what it is. He's got a computer strapped to his right arm, so a little bit of everything all over his little suit there.
Gotcha.
And so with those outfits, thank you for letting me know. They don't really even give you a second glance at what you're wearing. Nothing seems really out of the ordinary there. When you show the token with Paw's insignia on it, one of them kind of scoffs and he says, "There's no great hunt going on now." And the other one kind of like hits him in the shoulder and says, "Look at the mark. Where are you from?"
All over the place, but recently Frontier Station.
That's what I thought. You here on business with Paw?
Yes.
Alrighty then. I'll inform Thraxis. What should I say this is pertaining to?
Tell him that Philip Buckley, on behalf of Paw, is here to act as a security consultant for Thraxis and has some very important information involving some of his valuables.
I will do so. And the guard leaves, and he comes back. And
as he leaves, Xavier's going to give like a smarmy wink to Simmons?
Yeah.
Simmons and Televac.
Simmons will kind of lean in and he'll say, "This place is huge. How did he know that you were seeking Thraxis himself?"
Long story, but you know how, I don't know how you guys got into the hunt, but a mutual friend of ours from Frontier Station gave us this token. Apparently him and Thraxis are on a first name basis.
I see. Useful.
Yeah, that's why I kept it. Cuts through a lot of bullshit.
He nods and he says, "I was originally skeptical at Cyber 6 getting your help, but you guys are proving incredibly skilled at a variety of things."
Simmons, if you knew half the shit that we've been through, all I can say is you ain't seen nothing yet.
He laughs and he says, "Oh, I'm quite confident you still have much to see yourself, but yes." And with that, the guard comes back and he says, he basically gives you directions to the largest tower in Manor, which you guys can see right up above you. This the white one with the blue. You've been here once before.
Yes, we sure have.
And you're given directions and kind of left to your own devices to take a taxi. And the taxis here, they don't charge, or at least the one that picks you up doesn't charge you. Whether it was sent for you or it just knew somehow, whatever. There was one waiting for you, and he doesn't ask any questions. Once you get in, he drives to the bottom of the building, and then when you get there, he says, "The 82nd floor. Look for the red door."
Okay. We'll take the 82nd floor and look for the red door.
All right. You'll find that that's about halfway or 2/3 of the way really up the building. Unlike level 9 where you were earlier, where the ceiling's like 20 feet tall, the ceiling in the manors is hundreds of feet high. It is huge. And the tower itself, it has at least 100 floors to it. So you arrive on the 82nd floor, and it's very easy to see the red doors. There's really nothing else there. The halls are lavish, as you've come to expect from Thraxis's tower.
Mm-hmm.
And as you open the doors, you find yourselves in an atrium.
Okay.
There are all kinds of colorful plants around. There's an artificial stream that babbles, like a brook that babbles across your path. You hear birds chirping. And you have a very large window on the far side of the room that overlooks the manors. It's very exquisite.
Mm-hmm.
You can hear the plants. You can smell the aromas of different
If I
flowers.
was on elemental dust, I could probably hear the plants.
Yeah. You can smell herbs and flowering plants, and it's rather pleasant. On the far side of the room, holding what looks to be a large, colorful bird on his arm, you see the back of Thraxis as he looks out the window down over the city.
Okay. Xavier will, after taking a look around and giving an appreciative noise, he'll say, Thraxis, you are an extremely busy man, an extremely important man, so I'm going to make this short and sweet. The only reason why I'm here is because we have a mutual problem. We know that you are in possession of a golden orb, and we have absolutely no interest in taking it or buying it from you. But we know a group of supernatural threats, creatures known as vampires, that plan on stealing it and using it during one of your gala events that will be happening at 4 o'clock. We figured, as a courtesy, as a business partner, as man of power, and the very fact that we don't want those vampires to get it as much as you do, we thought we'd come up here and let you know.
There's a very slight reaction when you say golden orb.
Mm-hmm.
And after you finish your speech, there is no response for an uncomfortably long time.
Okay. Well, I've been in more uncomfortable situations. I'm patient.
He eventually turns and he motions with his free hand, and some bodyguards that were standing by the doors, they shut the doors, and Thraxis begins walking towards you with the large bird on his arm. He says,
Right.
"A golden orb, you say?"
Mm-hmm. We both know exactly what I'm talking about.
I'm going to ask you one very important question, and you need to be very, very careful how you answer.
Well, I plan on answering truthfully, so hopefully that will be sufficient.
His face is stone cold.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, considering that there are 2 people in the entire megaverse that know this golden orb exists, and one of them is my brother,
Mm-hmm.
I want to know exactly how you found out about it.
Xavier notices, obviously, the stony look and the important lives, and he understands the direness of the situation. So he'll stop any sort of disrespectful grin, but he'll say plainly, only you and your brother know about it now. However, we have allies who have come from the future. And in the future, the importance of that orb is known to many more than those 2. These same people are our friends. We are allied with them to stop the vampires from taking it, because we believe that if they take it from you, they will start a chain of events that will rip time asunder.
He pauses for quite some time, and he says, the future. That
future.
is not unheard of. And then he lets the bird go, and he snaps his fingers. And
Thraxis, we're from the future. Well, he is. He points to Simmons.
Yeah, he certainly wasn't expecting that answer.
No, I'm fucking clever, man.
He snaps his fingers, and a desk actually rises up out of the floor. And he motions to the other side of the desk, and he says, "Have a seat."
Okay. Xavier will have a seat.
We
Look to
have
Simmons and Televac and encourage them to do the same.
Yeah,
Sorry.
oh yeah, Simmons definitely does. I don't know about Televac.
I reluctantly, I'll stand behind my chair, but I'm not sitting down.
Okay. Televac will sit down, and you'll notice his chair is slightly higher than yours.
You mean Thraxis?
Yeah, Thraxis. Sorry.
Yeah, and,
Oh, that's
I'm like,
down.
Will sit down.
down.
I'm like,
Thraxis.
okay.
Thraxis says, he puts his elbows on the table, and he says, "It is because we have done business in the past, and that my hunt was an inconvenience, that I have not imprisoned you outright.
Mm-hmm.
Understand my concern that if you did not get this information from me and you are untruthful, there's only one person you could have gotten this information from."
If it's any consolation to you, I don't know who your brother is. Although, if I did know who your brother is and I didn't want you to know, that's exactly what I would say. But trust me, I'm being honest.
He holds up a hand with 5 fingers. He says, "Then you have 5 minutes to convince me of your story."
And Xavier will give a smile and he'll look over to Simmons and he says, "I'm really glad we did bring you along. Could you please explain to him what the Corsairs are and maybe give him a little bit of proof that you are from the future?"
Simmons nods, and Thraxis looks over to him with the same cold, unreadable expression. And Simmons says, "I am part of an elite unit called the Corsairs. We are a bounty hunter group, I suppose would be the best word for us. We travel through time in writing time anomalies. If, say, someone were to destroy, actually, I'll just skip. He kind of gives the same rundown that Cybersticks gave Xavier. Yeah, so I don't have to
He
keep
told us.
repeating it. And then
I mean, this would be a great point for someone who has no idea what this campaign is right now. But yeah,
Right.
you're repeating a lot of information.
Right.
It's cool.
And he would say, and Simmons would go in through this, and the whole time, Thraxis sits back calmly in the back of his chair. And at the end, Simmons says, "And I have one specific way of proving this to you, if you'll permit me a moment." And then he'll touch his ear and he'll say, "Operator, give me something good." And it takes about 3 minutes or so. And he'll say, hang on, give me a second here.
Sure. Your maiden name is Jeanette, and you're really a woman, Thraxis.
Oh. Okay. Simmons will listen to something for a while, and then he will sit up and he will say, "That's actually rather pertinent given the company. You recently, I believe, purchased the rights to the location of a planet named Siren from, I believe, my companions here. Is that correct?" Thraxis very slowly nods his head, and Simmons says, "Your designs for that planet, as we speak, are to colonize it. You intend to subjugate the populace there, preferably non-violently if your records are accurate, but of course you don't shy away from violence if it's necessary. I can let you know that it will be somewhat necessary. You will have to contend with, shall we call it some sort of triumvirate? I'm not sure what that means, but
Oh my god.
you will have to pacify them. You will do so. And the market on these stones of yours will be cornered. And your greatest rival that you took down was a man named Celis. Now, this hasn't happened yet, but given the very detailed notes we have, you fully expect this outcome.
No, not the triumvirate. I'm gonna have a private conversation with Thraxis and try to convince him to, if we give him details, maybe he can show up as a triumvirate and really have a non-violent thing, and we can keep our fake religion going. But that's for a later time.
I like my fake religion. Why?
I love my fake religion. I don't want this asshole to crush these people. They're my people now. Damn it. Stupid siren.
Thraxis's face turns to one of mild surprise, and then Simmons says, "Oh, and you have a rare genetic condition which you haven't told anyone, not even your most closest doctors. But, as I'm sure you're aware, sooner or later, I'll spare you the details, you will have to go public with it, as it will begin to change your appearance." Thraxis, at that one, his eyes open wide. And Simmons then continues, "We know this because you keep very detailed notes, and the Corsairs acquired these notes after you pass. We have very detailed records of how your operations ran. In fact, you'll be pleased to know that your example set the pace of the market for over a century after your death." There's a long pause.
The future, Xavier says, in between the pause. So, we're the real deal.
Thraxis very quietly says, "So let's say I believe you.
Okay.
First things first. We already made a deal. The knowledge of my success does not change that.
Mm-hmm.
Secondly, this condition is not to leave this room."
Nope. It sure won't. Because I know if we even think about saying it, you can come up with probably about 1,000 people on your short call list that will kill us in our sleep. So it's very much in our interest to plead completely ignorant. In fact, I have no idea what you're talking about now, Xavier says with a smile.
I put my whole shoulders up and shrug like, I don't know.
Thraxis nods and he says, "I've always liked you, Xavier. You're a cynic like me."
Yeah, I guess.
So-
It is true. Xavier is a cynic. Shit.
So these vampires came from the future?
They came from the present, but their actions will affect the future.
But then how do they know of the orb?
I have no idea.
see.
Perhaps they did come from the future at some point.
I am mildly aware of what a vampire is. Some supernatural, dead but not dead, feeds on others,
Mm-hmm.
and they want this orb. I have a bit of a problem. Then I cannot increase my security detail without drawing attention to it. My power puts me in an awkward position. There are many other people on Center powerful enough to be a thorn in my side, and if they think that I'm transporting something important, they will stop at nothing to make sure I don't get it. Hence why only 2 people even knew of its existence.
Oh, the answer is simple, Thraxis. Switch it out for something else. Since you and this other person only really knows what the orb is, transport a rock. And then when the vampires strike, they won't get what they wanted. That'll be a waste of time. In the meantime, me and my Corsair friends from the future are going to take out their leader.
Thraxis nods slowly and he says, then I'll have to figure out what to do with the orb. And Simmons says, put it in our care. Everyone, I'm not going to say everyone. Thraxis certainly turns to Simmons.
Xavier turns sharply too and be like, the last thing you do is you tell the most powerful man in center who covets something so desperately that, hey, yeah, no, I'll take it.
Simmons continues, unabated. He says, we are a powerful organization and very skilled, and no one knows we even exist because we're not from this time. If you trust it to us for the simple hour or two it takes to run the diversion, you will have allies in us. We can keep it safe, and we can begin, shall we say, special agreements with you.
But besides, Xavier says, they would have no interest in robbing you of this, because if the Corsair's main interest is to ensure a time continuum, that it is not interrupted, and you were meant to have the orb. If you somehow do not have the orb, that creates a time diversion as well, something that is unacceptable. It is therefore guaranteed to retain in your power. We're just here to ensure it.
Simmons nods. He says, not only would we be stripped of everything that matters to us, the last time the timelines merged, it created an event so devastating that the effects were still felt 300 years later. And not you, not an orb, not everyone on this city is worth risking that. If there was ever a safe person to give it to, it would be my Corsairs. Xavier, can you roll me a trust check and make it easier by 20 because you're being helped a lot?
Okay. I succeed.
Okay.
Do you want to know how much?
Yes, please.
By 7. So I had a 70, and so that would make it a 90, which means a success by 7.
Okay, so you succeeded by a little bit. Okay. Thraxis muses for a long time, and he says, all right, here's what I'm willing to do. If you agree not to ask questions about what this orb is or does, I will deposit it to the Corsairs. And he looks right to Xavier and Talabek when he says that. I assume you are not Corsairs yourself.
You would be assuming correctly.
Then you would understand my hesitancy extending that offer to you.
I wouldn't do it if I were you, so I don't feel offended whatsoever.
He nods and he says, but you will be accompanied by my best men, and if you screw me over, I will not kill you. I will hunt down your entire organization. Simmons nods, and he says, it won't be a problem. And with that, Thraxis looks back to you two, and he says, I am not in the habit of letting important information go unrewarded.
I see.
If things turn out like you say, you had no real reason to warn me. In fact, the market might be more in your favor if it was chaotic. So, what do I owe you?
Well, hold off, because we have a little bit more icing on that particular prize of yours. Sure, you can't beef up security. You are going to substitute the orb for something that's fake. but I'm sure you wouldn't mind extracting some violent revenge on these vampire bastards that are trying to rob you. Talavac here is an expert as far as security, and he's already analyzed what you had planned for your gala. Talavac, perhaps you could tell him that if you were the vampires, what you would do. Sure, Thraxis, you can't beef up your security, but you can educate the security that you currently have. Forewarned is forearmed, and they can't really spring a trap if you expect it, right?
Then I invite you to stay the night here as my guests. Talavac, you have no issues going over with my security?
I'm willing to do that.
Tell you what, Thraxis, as for payment for this information, let's make it nice and simple. How about this? We're very interested in the town of Cyrene. I mean, in the planet of Cyrene. And if what happens in the future is true, we would rather you not have a violent subjugation of those people. We kind of like them. Well, some of them, anyway. This whole triumphant religion is, for lack of a better word, a masquerade. Seeds in which we sown ourselves. While we're staying the night, I could give some trusted advisors of yours details of this faith, and you could masquerade as this religion, as the gods coming in from the heavens, and the faithful members of Cyrene will throw aside their weapons and join you. That way, you are able to subjugate the city just fine. I keep saying city. Subjugate the planet just fine, and we ensure that none of our old friends will die due to bloodshed because of religious misunderstanding.
Simmons looks thoughtful for a second, and then he kind of adds to it. He goes, such a small change probably wouldn't affect the timeline too much. The planet will be yours one way or the other.
Mm-hmm.
And Thraxis says, let me understand this.
Mm-hmm.
When you went to Siren to pick up some stones,
Yes.
you started a religion.
Yes, we were outsiders, and I decided to try to dazzle them with mysterious tales of old gods, something that they could relate to. And what can I say? It took hold.
I would like to hear this tale. I have
I'd be
heard
happy
many
to tell you.
things in my life, but this one's new.
Thank you.
And what we'll do is we'll pull out a character a little bit here.
Sure.
Thraxis's demeanor softens a bit.
Cool.
And he invites you guys to stay the night. Talavac, you would meet with his security department and basically lay out the entire plans that you and Ollie made.
Mm-hmm.
And say, what we're thinking is they would hit here, here, and here, et cetera, et cetera. And you would help with them. Xavier, over dinner, would it be fair to say that you would regale Thraxis
Sure.
with...
I would tell him all about the triumvirate, about Ceslios, the god of trade, Padam, the god of the sun, Dirus, goddess of storms, of himself masquerading as Thedo the prophet, about the Sirenese, the local planet of Siren, and the religious zealot faction called the Radiant, or the Order of the Six. I'll tell them all about Palladians and Tylin and Baker's Village and Adolin and all that good stuff. Yes, I opened up my notes. I didn't remember all those names.
Fine. Go ahead.
Make sure you note the ending.
The ending?
Yeah, where Lucas just went, so these cool guys are gonna be here. They're called the Triumvirate. Okay, bye.
Yeah, that's right. I'm gonna say that too. So they're actually expecting the triumvirate. So you could easily use either holograms, ironically be using holograms, or other such things to masquerade as these beautiful giant god-like figures. And you'll have these people eating out of your hand.
Question.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Are you also going to mention the tomb of Cathor?
Probably not.
Okay.
All right. By the end of the story, especially when you get to the part of Lucas acting like the old gods, ushering in the new gods, he'll actually, for the first time you've ever heard, laugh out loud.
Mm. Cool.
And he'll say at the end of the story, he'll muse and he'll say, "I've never been hailed as a god before.
Well,
I
there's a first time
think
for everything.
perhaps one of the faces of the triumvirate should be mine. You're right; it would help pacify them non-violently."
You seem to me, Thraxis, you strike me as Ceslios, the god of trade. Don't you think?
He laughs at that again, and he says, "I suppose you're right. I suppose you are correct. Well, I'm going to retire. One last question.
Hmm.
Tomorrow, during this whole event, what are you doing? What's this to you?"
Well, let's just say this possible rift in time and space might have started with actions that we took. It's best to finish what we started so the entire universe doesn't implode on itself. I do like living, so that's why I'm interested.
I see.
Besides, now we have a new mutual friendship and a few small favors we can cause in case our very modest enterprise requires a influx of foreign investment or at least a bit of knowledge here and there. I mean, there's nothing wrong with making friends with networking, right?
I would think so.
Mm.
I'm curious, though. You plan to end this threat.
Hmm.
Averting the theft doesn't end the threat. What am I missing here?
Oh, well, I might have vaguely mentioned before that while these vampires, the bulk of them are going to try to steal your belongings, we know where their lair is, and we're going to attack it. We're going to kill. It's my understanding from our friends who are avid vampire hunters that there is some sort of master or leader or general. If you cut the head off the snake, the body will die. Similar thing to vampires. They'll be in disarray, they'll be disorganized, and they'll be easy to hunt down and execute. We are currently recruiting mercenaries and hoping to find a few, do-goodery types to assist us in this. If you could loan a few men, it would be in everyone's interest to exterminate this vampire threat. Make sure they don't come after your orb again.
That might be arranged.
Good.
I
Besides, you can then have your men who are helping us out keep an eye on us. Make sure everything we're doing is telling the truth. Right?
He nods. He says, "Was about to say that. We do think
Great
alike,
mind.
it would seem."
Cynics.
And he kind of snaps his fingers again, and a big, big man, a mountain of a man.
Yay. The mountain?
With
Oh, God.
yeah,
Silver cocaine?
actually, yeah, that size of a man steps forward. The only thing is that his skin is yellower. It looks like almost like he has jaundice, if you know what that means.
Oh, I do. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he looks more than healthy. He just has a very yellowish tint to his skin. And
Okay.
he says, "This is silent. We call him that because he's
He doesn't
mute,
talk. Oh, well, that would do it.
but he sees very well. He's yours until day after tomorrow."
Okay. Great. Thank you.
And yeah, and with that, we can go ahead and end the scene there if
And
you're
that's
good with that.
Yeah, let's do it.
All
I
right,
think
you guys spend the night in very, very, very luxurious rooms.
I like luxury. I could get used to this. I'm glad me and Thraxis are BFFs now.
Yeah,
Chinook's
that
the best friends.
that whole conversation could have gone a completely different accommodations.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad you were
Also,
talking.
also, I was completely selfish, and I made the triumvirate still happen. Oh my god! Oh my god! You know, what'd be really funny. What'd be super funny is that because faith builds like gods, right? And it'd be really funny if Thraxis further fuels their religious belief, and then they believe enough that a real triumvirate shows up. And Thraxis has to deal with the gods of the planet.
We're the
They
triumvirate.
might
No,
kick him
we're
out.
the triumvirate.
I think that would be amazing. But suffice to say, all I care about is that little dusty planet is gonna have a long lasting. Wow. Okay. Anyway,
I'm
this
actually
sounds great.
surprised that Simmons didn't even like balk at. Wait, you guys made it?
Well, you'd be surprised. I'm sure Corsairs have seen a lot of shit. You know, everything in history has to start with some sort of kernel or seed, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It is also the possibility that at some point in the future it becomes not known that you guys were involved somehow.
Oh
I mean,
my
it's
God.
possible. I mean, no one knows.
You
Even
know
I
what?
don't know.
You know what? No. Xavier's egotistical enough. If old man Xavier was making his memoirs, he'd totally write that in. He totally would.
It was me.
So
I did
it's
it.
possible Simmons knew. Okay, so we'll
Right.
jump back to Lucas and Isaac. So you guys walk about a good mile and a half. And true to the floating man's word, the prancing pony is almost impossible to miss. It is quite literally a large, colorful horse with a door in its front hoof. Now, this horse is as big as a 4-story building at the head. And every hoof, except for where the door is, slowly raises up and down as if it were prancing. And it is covered in bright lights, and there's music playing from inside. And the mane lights up, and on the mane it says Prancing Pony.
I think we're at the right place.
Oh wow.
Okay. So, earthquake.
Earthquake.
All right then.
Keep going.
He says from the bathtub.
Burn is most. He said small earthquake, but also burn most hardcore gamer award winner 2016.
Like everything's falling around him. I need to roll.
Keep going. Tell me more about the prancing pony.
All right. So, do you enter? Y or N?
Jesus
Yes.
Do you go north, east, west, or south?
I just don't know if this is the right place or not.
Inside is a very loud tavern. Is the best word to use, or maybe like a large pub. It's hardwood floors everywhere. There's no less than 3 bars where people are drinking, and the center of the room is kind of a space that's cleared, and right now there's a few people there dancing. There's some music playing from a jukebox type device, but the room is full of maybe 200-300 people, and all of them. The majority of the people there look older than 20, but younger than, say, 35. There's a few old timers there, but most people wear.
That are 36.
Yeah,
those fucking
37.
fogies.
Most people wear some form of armor, whether it be full body or half body. You do see some Borgs. You see what look like people, like half the room looks like they just came from or are going to some type of expedition.
Ooh, expedition.
Hmm.
Nope. Shit.
So welcome back, Burn.
Yes, sorry about that.
Are the
My
chickens
windows
okay?
were my windows were shaking, so I just didn't want it to get on the recording, essentially.
Oh, got it.
Yeah.
I would be shitting myself right now.
It was
Uh-oh.
small.
The earthquake has
Uh-oh.
hit Canada. It's traveling. Okay, no, Inferno will be right back. So, all right. So, yes. So, did you hear everything, Burn?
Yes.
Okay.
I was sitting right here. I just didn't want to
Got
have
it.
the windows, because I have Galaxies. They shake and
Right.
causes noise. I didn't want
Right.
to ruin the recording because of that.
So, Piph, and Burn, what would you guys
Yes.
like to do?
We enter.
Yes, you do.
Yes, we're here. Certainly, there is already music, and Lucas is like, I can't work in these conditions. Can't music on top of music. That just doesn't work. Sort of.
I will try to approach the bartender, if there is one.
Okay.
There's a bartender.
The bartender you approach is actually a bartendress. She's a youthful girl, maybe mid-30s, a full bust, actually wearing a corset, and has long, dark, curly hair. And she is wiping the counter with a dirty cloth.
What's her physical beauty score?
Let's say like a 12. Not bad. Not drop dead gorgeous.
Okay,
Just right.
but just right.
The baby bear of the Goldilocks.
Okay. He will approach her and try to get her attention.
She'll look up. Oi, love. What can I do for you?
Cottony, too.
I know what you're thinking. Continue.
The Cadbury's here. Okay, sorry. I was wondering if my friend could play some music tonight.
And no one's stopping him. Is he some sort of musician?
Yeah. We're actually trying to recruit some people to try and take out some supernatural beings that are doing some damage. Kind of kidnapping some people. So, figured this would be a good place to start.
When you say that, she screams, "Oi! You hear that? There be monsters or something." And like the whole room grows silent.
Does the music stop?
Yeah, someone hits the jukebox and the music stops.
I do
That's
believe
my
that is your
cue.
cue.
That is entirely my cue. Lucas, from his just like he had like a thing where he's leaning against the wall and has his hand like on his forehead, going, "I can't deal with these conditions. I need this to be quiet." And then it like stops, and then he like opens one eye. He like looks around, like, it's ready. And then he goes, like, slowly moves his hand down, and then gets his guitar out in this very like nice and silent place. Just slowly gets his guitar out and starts. He does a small, brief pause while holding the guitar, and then starts what he did during the street.
All right, roll me another skill check if you would, please, sir.
Swear to God. You better work with me, dice. Okay, then.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So Piph, I know what you're going for. Just
Yes.
go, and I'll go along with it.
Oh, do you want me to like? I'm not quite sure if I could give you a full.
No,
song.
you don't have to. Just describe what Lucas does, and I will add in what needs to be added in.
He starts playing a low bass line, hits the repeat button, and then like kind of spreads out his arms and legs, and just starts going like, "In the night, in the dark, there's going to be creatures in the." It goes and like starts going over to people's shoulders and like waving his hand across like the splendor of it all, and like really getting in that nice rhythmic like almost bar chanting like thing. And talking about how there's beasts that suck blood that are deep within the core of the center, the bottom that dwells the beast and all that other business. And he starts like rising up and like starts thumping along with the beat, so to have everyone else join him.
Isaac, whether his performance is really on his game, whether it was the difference in atmosphere, this is really catching on. Not only are people paying attention, people are responding. Like when Lucas sings something about, there's creatures down below, you'll hear, where? And if he says they suck blood, and you'll hear the fiends. We gotta stop them. Like they're almost adding and being a part of the song. And like when Lucas like goes up to one and puts his arm around and kind of like does the whole. I'm assuming Lucas, you do this like like you can see it with me kind of thing.
Yes.
The people like all look in that direction, and you hear like. Like they are completely enthralled by this performance, and the energy is so high that Isaac, even you feel it. You feel like almost like getting caught up in it. I'm not going to tell you what your character does or doesn't do, but you definitely feel the energy in the room because this entire bar of 300 some odd people are hanging off of Lucas's every word.
Mm-hmm. That's fantastic. Well,
and so he rises up his arms. Now, who's with me?
Everyone goes.
Then Isaac will speak up and yell round of drinks on the house.
There you go, even louder. All right, so I'm gonna pull back a little bit, and here's what happens. A round of drinks on the house. Everyone drinks. Everyone claps as Lucas's shoulder, and everyone talks about how they're going to take the fight to the evil vampires. What's a vampire? Who cares? We're gonna beat them. It's gonna be great. And they basically asked like, where are they? And is it safe to say you'll tell them like, hey, they're on this level, the 9th level. They're abducting people, et cetera, et cetera. Like, what would you tell them?
Oh, no, the song would have actually gone into most of the details about their wrongdoings and things like that. Most of the details about, like, how they're defeated. I think he probably would have put in, like, a sharpened wedged in their heart will bring them to a stop or something like that. But he'll probably go into detail after, like, going, like, these are the usual things that hurt vampires and things like that.
Okay. The big question I need to answer or ask is, are you trying to get them to spur them to do something at a specific time, or are you just kind of like letting them go?
Hopefully, the man that's with me will be more of the, maybe we should actually like have some I don't know, signing up paperworks, like how much money is...
No, not in this bar, in this environment. Everyone.
I was more talking about I was more talking about like Isaac maybe being the voice of reason.
I think Isaac would be the voice of reason.
I was going to say this is a good moment, Isaac, to step in. Isaac, what would you be doing during the next, say, 15-20 minutes or so?
Well, after he got everybody a round of drinks, which I'm going to need to know the total of that.
1,500 credits.
Okay.
That's 5 times 300, right? Yeah.
1,500 credits. Boom.
My math good.
He's going to go to each table individually and ask if they are willing to do this, because this is dangerous.
You would get 289 people say yes.
Okay. Then every single one of them that say yes, I will make sure they know specifically the type of weapons they need and for them to meet us at a specific place. Now, out of character,
okay,
where do you guys want to meet up? Should we just meet up at the Corsair ship?
You know, It would be funny. That's always a plus.
Lead a group of 289 people all the way down.
Screaming lunatics.
They'll
Yeah.
have pitchforks and torches.
The 2-hour journey from the spaceport to level 9.
Maybe we should meet in the residential area of level 8 to the entrance of level 9.
That sounds a lot better.
Maybe a little bit farther away than that. We don't want to handshake the vampires.
Right
Well,
at
no, he
level
said level
5.
8. Level 9 is
Yeah.
where the vampires are. Level 8 is
Yeah.
where people were disappearing from.
Yeah.
He said next to the door of 9.
Oh, I see.
Well, we got to
why I
take
was
an
going,
elevator down to 9, so
Yeah.
Actually,
figured-
you guys talk among yourselves. I'll be right back and run to those. Sure.
I'm more
somewhere
saying,
in residential 8, maybe.
Yes.
289 red shirts.
Maybe-
Oh, that's good.
I'm just saying, maybe not directly next or somewhat near to the road. Maybe like a moderate distance somewhere in 8.
Okay. Just somewhere in
Uh,
8.
Like close, so it's not like a huge trip, but not like
Yeah.
close that like they could possibly run into people that are leaving from
Yeah.
9.
And I will also make sure that every single one of them knows that they need reinforced armor. Essentially MDC armor.
Well, that's up to them.
And they're
You
all
know,
doing this
and-
for free.
Well, they're under a little bit of a trance.
Yeah, kind of. So
Yeah.
everybody meets up at a specific time and in that specific place. And that's where we will meet up with all of our mercenaries that the Corsairs are finding, along with the Corsairs and everybody. Dude, this plan is actually kicking off.
I just see like all types of people. You know what I'm saying? Like the little granny with the freaking, with the silver steak. You know what I'm saying? It's just like just all kinds of random people. Let's get the son of a bitch.
Yep.
He'll be our MVP. I can feel it.
And these are all people in the Warlock district, so there's gonna be some magic user.
All right. So, did you guys decide on a place?
Yes, somewhere in Residential 8 that is not too close and not too far away from the elevator that we need to take down to Residential 9,
Got it.
to level 9.
Got it.
Also, it will be the same time that we are planning on meeting up with the Corsairs and having the Corsairs meet up with the mercenaries and just everybody get together there. And I will also make sure that they all know to bring reinforced armor. That would have to be in character, out of character, MDC armor.
Got it.
MDC protection, because these things are nasty.
You're met with tons of reassurance and cheers and several people offering to buy you rounds and a lot of not consoling is not the right word, but talking up, like, don't worry, you came in the right place, we're gonna take them down. Yeah!
This is great.
They are so fired up by Lucas's song.
Oh my
And
god, this
maybe
is
a little
fantastic.
bit alcohol. Maybe it's a little bit of the alcohol. Maybe. But
Maybe.
but yeah, like I said, 289 people. Because I assume Isaac's the kind that would keep account.
Oh yeah. How many Atlanteans?
No Atlanteans.
No.
Damn it!
Besides you.
One
You found the
Atlantean.
hotbed of Atlantean
Aw.
activity in the center. No.
As a sad now. All right.
So with that, do you guys like go back to the ship or
Well,
in time?
I'll buy everybody another round of drinks and then leave.
Okay. All right. So that's another 1,500 credits.
Yep.
You get back to your ship. You see Hart is still up, working on some sort of weapon, and actually Sarah is sitting next to her, like on the bench, and they're actually kind of girl chatting, which means Heart's talking most of the time. Sarah responds sometimes. But other than that, compared to, like, there's still kind of a ringing in your ears, given the noise levels that you were used to, and the ship's very quiet comparatively.
Mm-hmm.
But when you get back, Hart will, of course, look up and go, "Oh, well, oh, you smell like, is that beer?"
Booze, yes. We recruited people.
Recruited people?
Yes, to help kill the vampires.
How'd you convince them to do that?
Easy. Lucas did it.
Hart will look over to Lucas.
Lucas waves.
How?
Well, I sat them down and I told them that we have a problem, and they're kind souls. Bless them all. They all thought to themselves, you know what, that is a tragedy that these people were taken, and they all gave their help.
Yeah, all 289 of them.
Hart will march up to Lucas, put her fist on her hip, and another, like, will actually reach up with a finger and poke Lucas gently in the nose and say, "Lucas, you have never sat someone down and talked to them in your life. What did you really do?"
Would you believe if I had them sit down and I sang to them?
That's what I thought. And you didn't bring me? Oh, and I bet you went to some really cool bar or something.
Oh, you would have loved it.
Rub it in, huh? Rub it in.
Well done. Hart is now going to ask for all the details.
We're probably going to have to go to there later. You know, we got a few, was it days? Do we have a few, like a day or
tomorrow.
so?
Everything's
Tomorrow
happening tomorrow.
Yeah.
All right, if we got some time from here to tomorrow, because I'm not quite sure if you need to. Do you want to make weaponry for all of those fine young strapping lads and ladesses?
She gives you a look. She's like, "I have 2 weapons done. 2. They're amazing, but 2. So no. But tell me more about the pony."
She's a psychic.
No, didn't you tell her where you were and what you were doing?
Yeah, we did.
I was about to.
Oh, okay. I thought that was out of character stuff, or we handled that out of character. I'm sorry. So never mind. Then by all means, tell her.
Oh yes. Now out of character.
Okay.
All of the details, the size, the scope, the pony,
deets.
the raucous bar levels, as well as the twinkling eyes of the bar patrons.
Hart is enthralled by this. Sarah, who's been sitting on the bench the whole time with her arms crossed, she after Lucas is done, she goes, "You really did all that?"
Lucas stops for a second. He like looks over Hart. He goes like, "You haven't really." That's right. You're new to all this. Yes, I'm Lucas. As he marches over and goes, "I am a multi-talented, and also I do a slight bit of magic." Actually, I don't think you do know that. I do a slight bit of magic.
Hang on, give me a second. She hang on while I figure out what she does. She slow claps for Lucas and goes, "Very impressive." And you hear Hart from the background going, "Oh, shut up, Sarah. You know you wanted to see that." And Sarah will like blush a little bit and look around. She'll say, "Maybe a little."
You know what? I should probably invite more people. I did not know you guys were such into theater. I will tell you when I'm going to do another show.
Hart will say, "Oh, she didn't want to see theater. She wanted to see Lucas.
Now it's Lucas's time to blush. And go, "Oh,
Sarah
shucks."
gets pissed and she goes, Hart! And she starts chasing Hart down the ship, leaving just Isaac and Lucas.
Lucas turns to Isaac with a scrunched up face and goes, I think she likes me.
Yeah, I have that feeling too.
Do you like me?
Very likely not in the way that Sarah likes you.
Oh, so many I can choose from.
I'm sorry, what?
He just has his like knees buckled and he's have his two hands on his cheeks and he's going, oh, who to pick?
All right. So is Inferno back?
It love me.
I don't think so. He's been gone for a while.
Oh, no. Okay, that's fine. I think this is almost a good place to wrap up here. Real quick, there's a few more things to get through, of course. We'll say the next morning, early in the morning, everyone converges together again.
Mm-hmm.
And you learn what happened with everyone else. So this would also be when Talavac, of course, you would tell them your surprising success.
Yeah.
And,
would you like a small army? We found a small army.
both of you with your surprising successes.
What about the Corsairs? How did they do with the mercs?
Well, Cyber 6 and Ornegas don't have incredibly good news to report. Cyber 6 is very flustered by it. He says, oh, we went there and we talked to him and talked up as good a game as we could about the vampires being a threat to the whole damn station. Unfortunately, they've been everywhere and they've seen it all. And there's all kinds of monsters down there. And if they were a threat to the station, they would have heard about it. But fill out the proper paperwork and someone will look into it. And Onigas raised his hand. I did fill out the paperwork. And they say that an average turnaround is about 2 months.
That was a pretty good job.
Fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, good on you.
Like
Magnolia kind of like sighs. She goes, well, we had a bit more success, at least.
Mm-hmm.
We found 3 mercenary groups that might fit what we need. Though there's an interesting issue with them, which is that they don't like each other. She kind of like puts down a data pad and she says, most of the mercenaries we found were worthless. Oh, I'm sure they can fight, but they'd probably get their heads ripped off going up against these vampires. The 3 that we thought were even somewhat worth their salt, their names were Schneider and Schneider, 2 brothers, run a pretty professional looking outfit, expensive, but good quality. The Rose, it's a group of mercenaries, a little flamboyant for my taste, but they've got good heads on their shoulders and they claim to have fought vampires before. They're led by a man named Petal. And the last one is, well, they're called the Last Resort. According to them, it's because they're the ones you call when no one else can get the job done. According to Schneider and Schneider, it's because they're the last ones you'd want, but you know how trash talk goes.
Yeah, I know how trash talk goes.
These 3 mercenary groups are direct competitors, and they all made it very clear in what almost turned into a fist fight that if we hire one, the other 2 will not be joining.
Then I guess that
they
we
just need to get along.
Yeah. Honestly, go ahead.
She points out that if you want, basically that she set up a meeting with the 3 leaders so that you could see for yourselves, and the whole group could kind of have an interview of sorts. And she says so far she doesn't know exactly what their prices are, but given that they're mercenaries, would not expect them to be cheap.
When would this meeting take place?
As soon as you're ready. And she says they're waiting on comm. I can flip them on now.
Sure.
I guess before we do it, Talbot, how did yours go?
Yeah.
How? Okay. Since this was done narratively, can I just be vague, right, to you guys?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I don't
You can handle it narratively if you want. That's cool.
Okay. Well, thank you for asking for one, Lucas, and it went well on my end. I told them as much as I knew about vampires, and told them that technology is really not going to do much with them, and that they can turn to mist and go in through tiny cracks, and that stuff like that to look over and consider. But other than that, without boring you with all the details and everything, I gave them the rundown, so everything's cool.
And Cyber 6 says, and apparently Simmons told Thraxis all about the Corsairs.
Yeah, that one I'm leaving up to Xavier. I can't repeat what I had just heard.
Oh, no. Simmons was quite detailed. Told Thraxis all about our organization. He says while he's looking at Simmons, and agreed to hold the orb. The thing of potentially unlimited power that we don't know what it does. Thank you for that, Simmons.
And I never realized it was that easy.
Dude, you got the orb?
We're
Simmons
not going to keep this orb.
I would just want to see it.
Oh, God, why?
Simmons says, we convinced Thraxis to let the Corsairs hold on to the real orb while placing a diversion for the vampires to hit. I doubt you'll be able to see it, as he was only willing to give it to the Corsairs. And you hear Ollie say, I can take pictures.
But I wanted to touch it.
No.
I don't think that's a good idea.
Cyber 6 goes, I don't think the whole thing was a good idea, but what's done is done. We'll just have to go with it.
Well, we can study it now a little bit.
Simmons says, with their men watching our every move, I'm not sure how good of a chance that will be. But shall we examine the mercenaries?
Oh,
Yeah, let's give them a look over.
Yeah.
All right. So Magnolia flips on a switch. And on the monitor comes up 3 faces. One of them is a stout man with short black hair. Looks very professionally cut, like a high-end type from the military. Mm-hmm. He looks to be in his late 40s. There's some gray on the sides of his hair. And Magnolia says, this is Schneider, one of the 2 of Schneider and Schneider. This is Petal. You see a man with very wiry, very thin. He has spiky pink hair, and he has a sharp nose, and very wide eyes isn't right the way to say it. You know how some people's eyelids are wide enough that you can see the whole iris, and they're not trying to do that. That's just the way their body is.
Yep.
Yeah, he has one of those types of eyes.
Yay.
And she goes, this is Petal. And Petal goes, hello there. And the last one is a woman with short, sandy blonde hair. She looks very, very masculine. She looks like a Mrs. Universe.
Oh, I have thought. Give me a second.
Okay.
I have something I'd like to say.
Sure.
I would stand in front of them, and I would ask them, do they understand why they are here?
Schneider would say, you're looking to hire an outfit to do some dirty work. Petal says, because you want some people to fight vampires. And Carmen, who is the leader of the Last Resort, says, because you want the best.
Vampires, yes. We have come here and we have
Yes, Burn.
asked you. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I interrupt something?
No.
Oh,
Burn just sent me a
okay.
picture real quick. Nothing.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Sorry.
All right. I'll just go in and make sure that we're crystal clear here that we're going up against vampires. Okay. And I want everybody to be on board with that idea and be prepared for that.
Schneider says, I don't know about these yahoos over there, but we're professionals. We are familiar with fighting the supernatural and are well prepared. And we're good at our jobs if you're willing to pay for it. We're 10,000 credits a day plus expenses. And we hire out in groups of no less than 5 because we work as a unit.
Okay. What is your gear and weapons?
Schneider actually starts listing. They have conventional body armor, usually Naruni make. They operate usually from a small, a variety of small arms firepower to large heavy weapons. They have access to silver bullets, and they can outfit themselves accordingly. They also have several vehicles, though he admits this probably doesn't seem to be necessary where you're headed.
Okay. And one last thing. It's like, and of course you realize that we, and I point to myself, I point to Isaac, I point to Lucas, and another cohort of ours, Xavier. You will be getting orders from any one of us at any time.
Schneider will say, I understand that you would be giving the orders, but how my men achieve the orders is up to them. With all due respect, we work a certain way, and we live to tell about it because we're good at our methods. You give us an objective, it can be even a complex objective, and we'll complete it, but we decide how it's completed.
All right.
Question. The Rose. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Question
I was
for.
Gonna say, I gotta say what the other 3 would.
Oh
say
yeah, sure.
Sorry. Yeah. The Rose, the Petal from the Rose, would say, "Oh, sweetheart, I'm not gonna list everything we use. Our reputation's enough for us. At least let it be known that we protect ourselves magically and thoroughly, and we're not afraid of a little bloodshed, despite my demeanor. I have personally fought vampires before, so I'm aware of their strengths and weaknesses, and my group doesn't charge tooth and nail like those swindlers over there. 5,000 per day, including expenses. We don't charge you for extra."
And I step in, and I'm like, oh dear. You see, I don't know of your reputation, and it would be good for me and my outfit if I knew as much about you as possible. Do you understand where I'm coming from?
And he goes, "Your friend there has our resume." Magnolia would slide over a data pad to Talavac that's a list of jobs that the Rose has completed. It's quite long.
I'm going to sit there and thumb through it and then look at her and look back down at it and everything, and, you know.
She shrugs.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, Petal? Or...
Yeah, that's Petal. No. Magnolia,
okay.
Petal's a guy.
Yeah, I know. That's why I got confused.
Yeah. No. Magnolia shrugs when Talavac looks at her.
Okay.
And
what
then
about the third one?
The Last Resort, Carmen, would say, She says, "We're heavy hitters. We wear heavy armor. We use heavy weapons. If you want someone to be quiet, we're not your people. If you want something dead, stop wasting your time with the losers."
All right, fair enough. I step back. I'm like, I apologize for the grilling, but you have to understand our situation. We have to make sure that you're on the up and up and for real.
She nods. She says, "I get it, little man. You're a hirer. You want to make sure you're hiring the goods."
Yes. And I step back and I just motion to Isaac, like, if there's anything else you want to say.
Oh, there's plenty that he wants to say.
Oh, then the floor is free, my friend.
Okay. So, it wasn't Simmons and Simmons, it was something else.
Schneider and Schneider.
Schneider and Schneider. Oh, jeez. Rob Schneider and this and that. Okay. So, Schneider and Schneider. I understand where you're coming from with wanting to do everything your way, but there is a certain procedure, at least for eliminating vampires, where they will not come back, because they do come back.
I'm aware of that. We are more than willing to do whatever techniques are necessary to kill the opponent. My phrasing was meant that there's too many people that hire us and then try and tell us how to do our job. We have grown to be careful that employers know from the start that we operate the way we operate. You want to give us advice on how to kill a supernatural being, we'll listen to it and we'll use it because we want to get the job done. You want to give us advice on how to walk, how to fire, when to shoot?
That's unreasonable. I understand.
He nods.
Okay. Next one is for the Rose group. Petal.
Yes, sweetheart.
So, which is more effective, holy water or regular water?
Rose looks at Isaac and says, "Well, if you're just trying to get clean, it'd probably be cheaper to use water. If you want to burn a vampire away, it might be worth it getting some holy."
Yes, that is correct. So, is there a difference between staking a vampire anywhere, through the heart, with wood or silver?
Oh, through the heart, baby. Always through the heart.
Okay. Is there a difference between wood or silver?
Silver. Wood. I might buy you dinner. Silver. Well, you'd wake up the next morning feeling very refreshed.
He'll kind of slowly turn towards the rest of the group and go back.
I'll lean over
sorry,
to Isaac and kind of...
Silver, sweetheart. I'm trying to say silver gets the job done better.
Okay. So, actually getting rid of a vampire. Like, so they will not come back. Do you understand the process?
Much like an overbearing ex. Stab them through the heart, cut their heads off.
And what do you do after that? Do you just leave the heads?
He smiles and he says, "Vampires tend to regenerate. It's probably best if you light them on fire or dissolve them in acid or hold them in running water. As I said, I've fought vampires before, sweetheart. But you can grill me anytime."
Wow.
That's fine. I just wanted to make sure that you knew your stuff, because you were saying that you fought vampires, and I grew up on Earth fighting them myself since I was a little kid. So, I just wanted to make sure. Well, do any of you use magic? psionics.
Petal says, "We use magic. We are our magic, baby." And then you hear from the side, you hear Carmen say, "Look, any of those techniques you just mentioned, any one of us can do. Sure, maybe the little twerp's fought a vampire or two, but I've seen his resume, and he's done lots of jobs, but he ain't pulled the heavy shit we have. Look, you need to stake him in the heart or whatever. Just tell us what to do. We'll get it done, and we'll get it done hard."
And how many of you are prepared to fight tomorrow?
Schneider chimes up. He says, "We're ready to fight within 2 hours given notice." And actually, and Burn, real quick, it's the next morning, so it would be today around 4 is when the
4 in the morning?
No, 4 in the afternoon.
Oh, so we're doing this meeting in the morning?
Right.
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought it was still like 10 o'clock p.m. or something like that.
No, because remember, Talavac and Xavier spent the night with Thraxis.
Oh, yeah, I blanked on that.
No,
so
yeah. Fine. So you would have said who's ready to fight today or this afternoon, right?
Okay, yeah. Actually, I would specify in what 10 hours or something like
10
that.
Hours, yeah. Schneider would say we're ready to fight within 2 hours, after signing the contract.
Mm-hmm.
Rose says, "My boy's ready to go right now, ready and willing." And Carmen's like, "We eat shit and breathe combat."
Gotcha. We also will be having several other combatants. Not yourselves, not mercenaries, but zealots that will be joining us to the tune of 289.
Every single one of them at the same time in different ways say, okay, Schneider says, just tell them to stay out of our way. Rose says, just don't let them step on our toes. And Carmen says, tell the little fuckers to stay behind us. And they say it all three at the same time.
All right. Give us a minute. And you guys are all
Magnolia
absolutely...
turn off the monitors.
Sorry. Before she does, you guys are all absolutely sure we have to choose one of you, correct? None of you are willing to work together.
Schneider says, I would never work with the poor discipline of that man there and the raw brutality and lack of professionalism. And Petal says, well, I wouldn't ever want to work with you either, sweetheart. Nor you. And Carmen says, I don't care. I'll squash them all.
Well, then we turn off the monitor. And now we get to make a decision, and I'm not even sure what to go with.
Well, we can end the session there if you guys would like.
We can think about that, yeah.
Yeah, let's think about it. Inferno's still not back, which is fine.
Yeah.
I think we need his input.
Squee, are you gonna have like a little small summary about each one of these guys so we can make a decision?
Yeah, I can write that up for you guys. Sure.
Yeah, I think that would be best.
Yeah. I'll get that to you guys in the next few days.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool deal.
From what I can tell, it seems like Schneider and Schneider is just your all-around military. They'll get in, they'll get the job done, they'll do whatever's necessary. Boom. The Petal and his gang, his mercenary gang, is more about tactics. They'll use magic, and they have a lot of experience. Whereas the last ones, they use heavy weapons and power armor. Which is a thing in its own.
Okay, so let's go ahead and I think the decision's pretty clear. I think we get Petal Rose, huh? Petal Rose?
Well,
I think I'd like Inferno's input on that, though.
Okay. That's true.
Yeah.
I will say this. I will disagree super hard on the first one.
Okay.
Never, ever that one.
Okay.
Because we want to make sure that whoever we hire is going to listen to us.
Yeah, that is true.
Because we had very specific, like, we're not going to tell them to, like, flank in a particular direction or something like that, or anything like that. But we do have to make sure that they don't freaking go in guns blazing in the place that we need to go to. They're supposed to be basically out there.
They're backup.
Almost as a distraction.
Yeah.
Because we really need them to fight the forces while we go after the head. Let's just say we keep using that example.
Pretty much, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So if they start going for the head or just shooting whoever they see, which may or may not be the person that we're trying to save, that will be bad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I hear you.
I like Petal and Rose a lot, but I also want to make sure that Inferno has a say. I also like the idea of the power armor because they're still a force to be reckoned with, but at the same time, a lot of the tools that they would need unless they already have access to silver and things like that, they can't get on short notice.
That is very, very true.
And magic just works. So that's another reason why
magic
Petal is a good thing. Well, it half works, but it's still.
If we are putting this to a vote, I'm going with Rose and Petal. So that's my weigh in right there.
I'm still on the fence.
It's so here's the general things that I'm thinking of. One, I think Petal and Rose actually, like, at least the main person knows. I hope that the rest of her armament does. That's pretty important.
Yeah.
And the other one, the last resort, it was a lot of vague things, but as long as she brings heavy enough, like, weaponry and things like that, as a distraction would be pretty good. Now, even if we do, let's just say, cut the head off the stake, they're still going to be a threat for a bit. So I would probably say, for the safety of most people, maybe put in the people who actually know what they're doing. So I would probably go with the Rose Petals.
Yeah.
They seem like they knew a lot of shit.
I think we're pretty much set on them. I just want to make sure that Inferno isn't uncomfortable with the idea.
I think it's it's the safe -- entertaining choice, because the other two are basically just hired gun, and this one is more of the elaborate, like,
they have a personality.
Yeah,
that kind of thing.
So I'm all about them for the most part.
Yeah.
Somewhat of an empathy that I can get behind, not somebody who's just what I'm trying to say. Just
I know what you're trying to say.
Dry and whatever. Like someone I can relate to, on an intellectual level,
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, I just have to talk to Inferno, but
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Okay,
so
then we'll go ahead and end that session here, and next week, next week it's gonna be 4 p.m.
Yeah, next week things go down. I still can't believe that we got 289 people.
Yeah, you had 289 people agree to help.
Yep. That's gonna be cool.
Oh boy. All right. Well, good night, gentlemen.
Yes. Have a good
Take care.
one. Bye bye,
right,
stream. Bye bye.
Bye bye, everyone out there in the world.
Bye.